Tonight, kudos for the workers who helped keep the snow crab fishery afloat this season.
Few thought it could be done, but despite all the upheaval, most of the crab has been landed and processed this season. And plant owners are crediting these people, calling them the heroes of the 2023 harvest. I'm Terry Hairnet Roberts, and we'll have that story coming up.
As of next week on September 7th, we'll have this new Embraer E195 E2 aircraft, and it'll be non-stop service to Toronto Pearson.
It was this plane's first time in St. John's, and soon enough, it'll bring passengers to one of Canada's main hubs. I'll have that story just ahead.
Originally, I always thought the family was from Ireland. So my father, grandparents, everybody is from here.
Search for ancestral roots and to meet up with cousins that I never knew I had.
3 American women connected by blood but have never met. After learning of family ties to this province, they traveled here to find out more.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, imagine working 3 months straight with only a few days off, or in some cases, not a single day off. That's been the case this summer for many who work in the province's crab plants. So as a tumultuous season winds down, those plant workers are being credited with saving this province's most important fishery. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
This processing line has been in overdrive for 3 months. Workers charging hard to handle the vast quantities of crab being landed. For many, no breaks.
How many days off have you had since May?
None.
It was an unprecedented push to process a massive quota, setting weekly production records along the way. The people who run the processing sector say it was only possible because workers stepped up in a big way.
We have heroes in this province, and those heroes are plant workers for pulling off what is an incredible feat to produce over 10 million pounds of crab a week since the season opened.
There's nothing short of superhuman in my opinion. You know, to have someone go into a processing facility on the 21st and work for 12 weeks.
The Association of Seafood Producers has launched a thank you campaign aimed at the nearly 5,000 people who work the mostly seasonal jobs in the plants.
Quite honestly, I don't believe there's another workforce in Canada that could have pulled off what people who work in this plant and all the other plants in this province have done this year.
But later this week, the crab line in this and other plants will go silent. Nearly all of the quota landed and processed. A daunting achievement considering the upheaval and delays that characterized this year's harvest.
I've worked for Cullen Brothers now for 46 years. This season has been one of the hardest seasons that we have worked here because we had to do a lot of crab in a short period of time. But in saying that, we all got through it and made the season work.
It was hectic. I mean, we had a really hard year. It was just steady go, hours and hours, every day. We had no breaks, and well, that's what we had to do.
But it was good. It was good exercise. I call it exercise.
Let's go, boys. This is it.
There was so much anger in the fishery this spring that there were worries of a total collapse. Harvesters refusing to untie and fish for the arbitrated catch price of $2.20 per pound. The standoff lasted for 40 days, all sides struggling to find a compromise, with the very real threat of 54,000 tons of snow crab being left in the water. An uneasy truce resulted in a start to the harvest in late May, 6 weeks behind schedule. Few predicted the entire quota would be landed, but thanks to a few extensions to the season, a healthy crab resource, and workers like these, all but a few tons of the quota has been landed.
You had to live through it to be able to convince yourself that it became a reality.
It means these workers will finally get a break, satisfied that they helped save this province's most valuable fishery, and comforted by the financial reward that resulted from all their hard work. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Bay de Verde.
Well, a woman in her 70s is dead after being struck by a vehicle in Botwood this morning. Grand Falls Windsor RCMP says she was struck while crossing Water Street in Botwood around 7:30 this morning, and she died at the scene. Police are investigating, and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is also engaged in that investigation. Well, in other news, school is just around the corner, but there are still a lot of vacant teaching positions in Labrador, 29 in total. The president of the province's Teachers Association says it's always challenging to fill jobs in rural and isolated areas, but with housing issues and a higher cost of living, Trent Langdon says Labrador requires its own solutions to attract teachers.
Labrador is very unique, and it has to be treated as such. You can't even compare it, say, to the northern peninsula of Newfoundland, the island, because the needs that are up there and the uniqueness of trying to get in and out and so on is quite different than if you've got a road, for example. So Labrador needs its own set of approaches, its own set of funding to deal with the staffing issues.
Well, the Newfoundland and Labrador Liquor Corporation has released sales numbers for the first quarter of the year. The NLC's net earnings increased by about $200,000. That's up 0.5% over the first quarter of last year. But the slight increase comes from cannabis sales. Alcohol sales are down in all categories, while the sale of cannabis products jumped by more than 25%. The NLC also paid $5 million less to the provincial government as compared to last year, but the corporation chalks that up to the timing of the payments. Well, Holyrood RCMP says officers seized a loaded shotgun from a vehicle on Saturday morning. Police say the gun was found around 1 a.m. on Saturday during a checkpoint on Route 60 in Holyrood. A 44-year-old woman and a 46-year-old man were arrested. They were later released from custody but remain under investigation, and police expect multiple firearms charges will be laid.
Lots of sunshine out there today across the province, particularly here in St. John's. We're seeing a little bit of high cloud move in now, but temperatures beautiful this afternoon. 21 degrees is what the current temperature is. Feels more like 24 with that humidex. And those winds generally out of the west gusting around 28 kilometers per hour at the moment. We do have lots of warm air out there today into the 20s, upper 20s up across Labrador, Makkovik, Cartwright, Happy Valley, Goose Bay all reached 26 degrees. A very different story in Nain this afternoon, down to 16, but you broke a record yesterday as your temperatures were up into the mid 20s. So very different stories we head through the next couple of days. A cold front's going to sweep through, bringing some colder temperatures Wednesday into Thursday, even colder. We could even be talking about the potential for some snow in higher elevations. It won't last long, but it's certainly there, that potential. And we have some rainfall warnings in effect for parts of the province as well. We'll talk all about it when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, Porter Airlines has given St. John's another option with a new direct flight to Toronto's Pearson Airport. The airline brought in the new and larger plane to make the trip. Today, they showed it off on the tarmac and gave the media a close-up look.
St. John's has been an important market for Porter for many years. We've been serving it with our Dash 8 aircraft, which is a 78-seat regional plane. Now, as of next week on September 7th, we'll have this new Embraer E195 E2 aircraft, which is 132 seats, and it'll be nonstop service to Toronto Pearson. So we're looking forward to starting that. We're really focusing on building out our network from Eastern Canada. That's always been the strength of Porter. And now with these new planes, we can do that in a bigger way. So focusing on cities like Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Halifax as far as where these planes will be based. There'll be up to 50 of them by the end of next year, and then up to 100 over the coming years after that. So there's many places where we'll be looking to fly them. St. John's is an important market for us. This is just the beginning that we hope, with one daily flight into Toronto Pearson, and over the years we'll be looking for more opportunities.
Any added capacity is good capacity and moves us in the right direction. So we're thrilled to have Porter add this nonstop route, which is a new route with Porter between YYT and Toronto Pearson. It's a beautiful new piece of metal that we're showing off here today, thanks to Porter, and it just offers another great option for passengers.
We're used to competing with everybody, so that's not new for us. And in a lot of ways, we think that people are responding to what Porter is doing in terms of the way that they're trying to modify their service and some of their flights as well. So we're not too concerned about that, but we're always mindful of competition, and we're looking forward to it.
We're up over 30% year to date compared to 2023. In 2022, we finished with 1.1 million passengers, and at some point we're going to have to stop comparing ourselves to pre-pandemic, but it does compare to about 1.5 passengers pre-pandemic.
You know, we're not pretending to be a low-cost carrier. We're an all-economy product, but something that is elevated. It's what we believe is the best economy product in North America. And, you know, we say it's an elevated economy service. Nobody else has anything like it.
There's something I feel very confident about. It's that Porter made this decision with a lot of backing. So, you know, it's a route that we need the market to respond to. We need the market and passengers to look at it as a viable option to Toronto. And, you know, the proof will be in how many passengers come and book it. But we have all the confidence in the world that it's here to stay.
Well, they're calling it Cousin Palooza. This summer, curiosity about family connections and history brought 3 women from different parts of the United States to eastern Newfoundland. They learned they're related to each other and many others living here in this province. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
Alice Redmond Neal has come a long way, all the way from Albuquerque, New Mexico, to the archives at the Rooms in St. John's. It's been a journey of discovery.
Ancestral roots, search for ancestral roots, and to meet up with cousins that I never knew I had. And that's working out interestingly.
Redmond Neal has learned that she has at least 2 cousins in the U.S. who trace their roots back to Newfoundland. For her, the research has been fascinating.
It brings together people that you never imagined, so that has happened here. We first started thinking about getting together 3 years ago.
They've learned that they're all connected through one relative in this province. And this summer, they met many newfound relatives and visited places their ancestors once lived.
Look out at this land and imagine. Imagine that your folks are here, you know, looking at the water, playing in the backyard. So it's almost a spiritual thing.
Linda Lehman lives near Seattle, Washington.
So my father, grandparents, everybody is from here. They're all from Placentia.
She's learned that through her father, she has connections to places and events that loom large in this province's history.
So he was sent back to Mount Cashel in 1905, and then he stayed there and then enlisted in the regiment, the Newfoundland Regiment, in 1916 and fought in World War I.
He was wounded in France, but eventually returned and settled in the U.S., where he met Lehman's mother. Linda Lehman knew none of this and never even heard of Placentia until recently.
So it was kind of a blank. You know, imagine being adopted and then suddenly you find out, no, this is actually your birth family. It's more like that.
Maureen Bissoni had always believed her mother's family came to the U.S. from Ireland. But now she knows they settled in Newfoundland first, and last week she met some of the descendants of relatives who stayed here.
It's great. They all look at you and say, oh, you got my mom's eyes. You look like Aunt, you know, Nora. It's wonderful. I do feel very at home here.
They've learned a lot, but being here has also raised many more questions. Redmond Neal, Lehman, and Bissoni say they're already planning to return as soon as they can. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, there's a new way to check out one of the best views in Western Newfoundland, and it's called the Chairway to Heaven. The staff at Marble Mountain has started running the Lightning Express chairlift at half speed for summer rides, taking visitors to a newly constructed viewing platform. The Hill's general manager says it's getting more people out to enjoy the view.
The ride back down is maybe the most majestic, looking out the island there, but you also realize how high you are going down as well. A lot of people have actually never seen this view. You know, wintertime you can get up as a skier and snowboarder, but we recognize the need here for tourism and see a great opportunity to get a lot of locals to an iconic view that they've never seen before.
Definitely a beautiful view today. Tomorrow, not so much. Rainfall warnings in place from Corner Brook through to Port aux Basques, including the Canagra Peninsula. I'll tell you all about it when I come back.
All right, so all week we've been talking about Franklin and whether it's going to hit Newfoundland, and it looks like we're kind of in the clear, right?
We're certainly in the clear, going to pass well south of the province as we head through the next couple of days, but there's still a couple systems out there to keep an eye on. We're going to start with Idalia, that is tracking through the Gulf of Mexico at the moment, and there's Franklin over there, still a Category 4 hurricane, or was a Category 4 hurricane, now downgraded to a powerful Category 3 through the day today. But like I said, let's start with Idalia. So we're talking about a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane at the moment, expected to track north, already tracking north about 24 kilometers per hour. And then it looks like it is going to track towards the Big Bend region of Florida now as a Category 3 major hurricane. Definitely a potentially catastrophic storm with about 10 to 15 feet of storm surge expected as we head into tomorrow, and obviously some impacts all along the coast of Florida over the coming days, but certainly in the next 24 hours with that storm surge. And then it'll track through to the coast, the east coast of the U.S., and eventually that will take us through to Friday and then head back in towards the Atlantic. So the other system, obviously Franklin, a beautiful storm on radar, or on satellite, I should say. A very strong storm, in fact, gusting currently at about 250 kilometers per hour, slowly moving to the northeast around 19 kilometers per hour. But last night, the central pressure was down to about 926 millibars, which I know doesn't mean much, but that means it's a very strong storm. And it was the strongest storm, is the strongest storm to ever be recorded in the Atlantic Basin this far north. So certainly a noteworthy storm. The good news is this one is going to stay well offshore, in fact tracking even further to the east than it looked like yesterday. By Friday morning, still sustained winds though around 130 kilometers per hour. So with that, no surprise that we will see some effects by ways of significant wave heights as we head through starting Thursday and through the day on Friday. So higher seas than normal. We could be seeing, off the shore there, somewhere between 4 to 6 meter waves, and potentially even a little less than that, though, breaking towards the shore there as we head into Friday morning. So other than that, there's going to be quite a bit of moisture associated with this as well. And as we head through to Wednesday, we're going to start to see some of that moisture head towards Newfoundland and Labrador, and that will kick in through Thursday, and then eventually we'll see that clear out as we head into Friday. What that means is we're going to see quite a bit of moisture. So Environment Canada does have a rainfall warning in place from Corner Brook through to Port aux Basques along the south coast of the Canaveral Peninsula. Now, it's not directly associated with Franklin. It's just the moisture that this upper level trough, which is actually over Ontario at the moment, but is going to move through and pick up some of that moisture. So as we head through the night tonight, we're essentially looking at clouds on the increase along a cold front, some showers up across Labrador. And then by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, then we start to see some of this moisture move a little bit further north. So periods of rain along the south coast of the island, likely heavy at times. Environment Canada has a rainfall warning noting somewhere between 10 to 15 millimeters an hour as rainfall rates could be in some of those heavier showers. And this pretty much continues through Thursday. Even southeastern portions of Labrador will see that. And then the heaviest rain for eastern Newfoundland will move in as we head into Thursday. This will also be accompanied by some pretty gusty winds through the day. Up across Labrador, that cold air could mean in the higher elevations on Thursday morning, we could see some wet flakes. It won't amount to much, but that is certainly possible as we head through the day. As far as rainfall amounts go, we're looking at somewhere by Thursday morning between 50 to as much as 75 millimeters along the south coast. That will accumulate again as we head into Friday, or the amounts I should say, could be in excess of 100 millimeters along the south coast. Otherwise, widespread areas of between 30 to 50. and we're seeing similar amounts up across Labrador. I'll get into the full forecast details when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, gardening was the hot topic on the Signal today, with gardening guru Ross Travers answering questions for listeners. He and host Adam Walsh chatted about all things, including getting the most out of your garlic and what's up with the blueberries this year.
If you're saving your own garlic cloves, then it's a good idea to pick out the biggest ones to use next year or this fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that then your chances of getting larger bulbs is better. The other thing is, of course, is that you do need a balanced nutrients in the soil. And you can use commercial fertilizer. If you want to use commercial fertilizer, it's a general purpose fertilizer like that contains nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and that's mixed in with the soil before you plant in the fall. But sometimes with compost and with manure, there's not a good balance of nutrients, and so you need to balance it up. Yes, and I'm going to harvest mine now in the next few days, and when the 2/3 or one third of the lower leaves are turn yellow, then you can take it up, but don't cut off the stalk. Just put them in a dry, cool place, and so let them dry out for about a couple of weeks before you take the stalks off.
Okay.
And that helps mature them, and so they'll store much better.
I spent the weekend in Culls Harbour out at my mom and dad's place,
right.
And so around Glovertown area, and they were saying how not a lot of blueberries on the go out there.
No, it's been a poor year for most wild blueberries because of the bad weather at blossom time, cold weather, the pollinators weren't flying, and the berries are small. But there are isolated areas.
I was wondering about that myself. Well, to some sports news, a 16-year-old was the talk of the local hockey world over the weekend. Raya Stewart of Antigonish, Nova Scotia, made her first start in net for the Cape Breton Eagles. Stewart was the first female to ever play for the organization and had an impressive debut. Matthew Moore reports.
Skating onto the ice, Stewart was met with a loud cheer from the 2,000 fans. For a preseason game, a solid turnout, all to see the future star take to the ice in the QMJHL for the first time.
I think the crowd was pretty awesome. They were all here supporting me and the team, so that was pretty incredible.
The most impressive stat from her debut, stopping all 24 shots that came her way. After playing for the first half of the game, she joined her teammates on the bench, and the crowd gave a standing ovation. She says the experience was positive, even though the attention made her a little uncomfortable.
I think this experience is going to help me on and off the ice. I got to experience such a high-level pace and get to talk to media as well, so it'll push me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but help me in the future.
Stewart became the 5th female to take to the ice in the CHL. This past year has already been very impressive. She was the major force in Nova Scotia getting a silver medal at the Canada Winter Games. For next year, she's committed to play university hockey in the States. The head coach for the Eagles says he was impressed with what he saw.
I think she proved the reason why she was here. We talk a lot about inclusion in the QMJHL. Whether you're a boy or a girl, we want the best athlete, the best hockey player, and she surely proved today that she has her place here. She's a young lady. Is she going to make it this year? It's going to be tough, let's be honest. But at the end of the day, she wants to showcase herself. She proved today that if we need her down the stretch, she can be ready, and we'll sure keep having her here and making sure that she keep progressing.
Stewart says the night was one she won't forget. After getting the shutout, Stewart was named the game's first star. Matthew Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
Well, staying with news from the ice, get ready to watch professional women's hockey early next year. Today, the newly formed PWHL announced the original 6 team locations. Teams will be in Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, New York, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Boston. Here are the first steps.
Well, as of September 10th, we'll have 18 players that will be assigned to the 6 teams, 3 per team. And then following that, every other player will enter the draft. When the draft occurs on September 18th, we'll go through 15 rounds of a draft. So at that point, all 6 teams will have 18 players on their roster. For all players that don't get drafted on the 18th, they ultimately will become free agents.
Training camps will start in November. The season is expected to start in January. The teams will play 24 regular season games. The following year, it will start in November with 32 regular season games. Some of those games may be in cities other than the 6 home locations. This clinic in Clarenville is sitting empty, and the owners of the building want to fill it with family physicians. And they're putting their own incentives on the table to do that. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
org.
We're here in Clarenville today to talk about healthcare. The owners of this building, they're looking for some new tenants, some family doctors to fill this space, and they're offering their own incentives to get them here. Joining me now is Ryan Elliott, who's part of the team who's trying to fill this building. So Ryan, first of all, can you tell us about this building? Where are we right now?
Yeah, so we are at the Clarenville Pharma Choice building here in Clarenville. We have 2 medical clinics on each side of the pharmacy. Unfortunately, we've lost 2 tenants for general practitioners, and we're looking to invite 2 more.
Okay, well, can you show us the space?
Absolutely.
All right. So what do you have on offer here?
Yeah, so we have a full medical clinic with the capacity for 2 more physicians. Within the community, we do know that there is a growing demand for primary health care, and at this point in time, we're looking to do what we can to invite anyone to town.
And I mentioned some incentives. What sorts of things are you offering to doctors who might consider coming to practice in this space?
Yeah, so we recognize that every physician is going to have different needs and wants. So what we're looking to do is where we can add support or help with incentives for housing, and also administrative and business support.
Say I'm a doctor and I'm looking at this, thinking I might want to go to Clarenville. What's your pitch to the doctor to come to this space?
Absolutely. So I look at Clarenville as a real healthy mix of rural and urban. It definitely offers the major town amenities, but is also quieter, and it also has a great outdoor experience. The biggest piece there is we're able to offer any sort of business or administrative support, and also we are able to offer support with logistics and housing, and that could be move costs or rent, and then again we could have a further conversation and to see what the specifics are. We recognize that a lot of doctors want to practice, and the business side can be taken care of by us.
Okay, well, Ryan Elliott, thank you so much for this.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, so now we're here at Clarenville Town Hall with the mayor, John Pickett. So we just came from a clinic in Clarenville. It's been empty for a year. The owners are trying to fill it with family physicians, and they're offering their own incentives to try to get them in there. What do you make of that situation?
That's great. We certainly would appreciate anything that the individuals does to attract doctors to the area. As you know, Clarenville, unlike any other town or municipality in this province, has a challenge with family doctors. Back years ago, we had as many as 18 general practitioners in Clarenville doing clinical work. Today, we are down to 9. So that's a fair number of doctors that we've lost over the last few years. So you can imagine, the number of individuals and residents who are without family doctors for that purpose. And as well, we are a service centre, we're a hub, and there's a lot of areas outside of Clarenville that come in for service as well. So you can only imagine the shortage of what the shortage of doctors does for family practice, and family care, and medical services.
Right, and this building owner is offering incentives to try to find the physicians housing and administrative support, that sort of thing. Do you think that's enough to get physicians, to attract them into Clarenville?
Well, you would think so. I'm not sure what else it will take to get doctors to come to Clarenville. We think Clarenville is an excellent place to work. It's a nice urban center, rural center with all the urban amenities. We have a lot of activity here. So we think Clarenville is the place to be to come for medical practice. Well, we've done a few things. We've partnered with a couple of local doctors who's in medical family practice here. We've partnered with them, and we've offered some recreation grants. About a year and a half ago, council started up a committee for retention and recruitment of family physicians, along with some community reps. So we've done that. As a matter of fact, to date, I think we've offered about 40 students have come out of medical school. When they come out here to do their internship or do their residency, they can apply for grants of up to $500. So that's been quite successful. And as a matter of fact, in the last year or so, those 2 doctors have managed to attract 2 new physicians who completed the residency now and have confirmed to stay in Clarenville for family practice. So that's a great step, and we will continue to work with whoever private doctors or individuals to try to attract as many family physicians that we can here to Clarenville, because we think this is the place to be.
Because it is a competition, right? I mean, there are doctors needed all over the province. How does Clarenville compete with other areas?
Well, it seems to be, we don't want to get into the competition thing. We say that we can offer our own amenities here in Clarenville. We think that should be attractive enough. We don't want to get in competing with other municipalities. Each municipality has to do their own thing to attract family doctors or to attract people. So, we don't see it as a competition, really. We think that we got what it takes to offer good services to individuals coming here to do family doctors. So, well, hopefully that works.
We've heard of other municipalities offering their own incentives, like Bonavista, for example. Has Clarenville considered, leveling up on those incentives to try to get more people here?
Well, we had that discussion. We haven't gone that far down the road yet. If that's what it takes, we'll certainly have that discussion. But we haven't gone to that level about offering free land or free housing or whatever it takes. But maybe if that's what it takes, a discussion we'll have at the end of the day. But at this stage of the game, we think that what we got now is sufficient to attract individuals, and hopefully that works.
All right. Well, good luck with it, Mayor John Prickett. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, the sun was shining on the Churchill River in Happy Valley Goose Bay this afternoon. Videographer Katie Breen captured this beautiful scene. It was the backdrop for the Birch Island Trail, a wetland conservation area with 5 kilometers of boardwalk. Hopefully, some people got a chance to get out and enjoy all of that glorious sunshine in Labrador. Well, tonight we're revisiting our Repurposed series. It's a series highlighting projects that are breathing new life into some older buildings around the province. Tonight we'll take you to Blackhead, where an old one-room schoolhouse has found a new purpose.
We're in what was originally constructed as a one-room schoolhouse in Blackhead. And when this schoolhouse was built in 1879, there used to be a stone church just on the side of it. And it was called the Star of the Sea. And it was built by Bishop John Thomas Mullock. And he's a very famous bishop. He was the bishop that finished the Basilica in St. John's. Now, the stone church didn't last. So it lasted for about 47 years, but the mortar, for some reason, the mortar didn't hold. And it started to come apart and it wasn't safe anymore. So around the early 1900s, they started to move everything from the stone church into this building. So it became a school and a church. The building was vacant from around 1990 till 1996, and it wasn't being used at all. So a group of us got together and we said, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to act? Because if we don't act now, we're probably going to lose the building. So we formed a group, the Chapel Restoration Committee, Blackhead Cape Spear. Way too long a handle now. Now we know when you're trying to fill out applications. When we formed our group, our focus was to save the building. The museum kind of came after the fact.
It is the focal point of the community because it's the last little building that even people who hadn't been living here for years but were from Blackhead or used to visit knew. And it's actually drawn the community together because we're part of St. John's and a lot of people who are from here are living other places, but we have different events. The little museum has been a central point where people who used to live here can come and ask questions or visit, and their descendants. And we're also dealing with, in our events, the whole community. The kitchens open up and everyone bakes. We have an afternoon tea. Everyone will bake cookies like in their own kitchens and bring them here. They all help out. So it's really kind of brought the community together, because without the museum, there'd be no reason for, everyone has their busy lives, there'd be no reason for everyone to actually get together. Older people get amazed when you went to school here. Younger people can't believe that you're still alive and you went to school here.
You know, this building represents the spiritual side, the educational side, the cultural side of the people that lived in this community.
The UN Children's Agency says more than 1,300 schools have been destroyed in Ukraine since the Russian invasion.
Just last week, teachers were amongst casualties of an attack on a civilian area in the city of Romny. This senseless and reckless attack have left many of Ukrainian children deeply distressed and without a safe space to learn.
Some schools have been damaged or destroyed after suffering direct hits. Many others have had to close down when the neighborhoods came under artillery or missile attacks. Teachers are reporting a deterioration in students' abilities in language, reading, and mathematics. The long-drawn war has come on the heels of the pandemic, so for many Ukrainian children, this is now the fourth straight school year of disruptions. And of course, this has been an unprecedented wildfire season right across the country, and it's not over yet. Many communities are only just starting to assess the damage, and as they tally the costs, more and more attention is focusing on what can be done to prevent wildfires from destroying homes. And there are growing calls for changes to how homes are built. The CBC's Kayla Hounsell has more.
This is all that's left of Alice Fisher's home, destroyed in the Nova Scotia wildfires back in May.
It talks about the flames traveling quickly.
She's been looking into options to build her new home better.
After living through what we've lived through and feeling that numbness.
This home has hardy board siding, and so if the fire approaches, this siding will not melt.
Paul Kovacs has been researching how to make homes fire resilient for 25 years. He says siding is just one part of it. People should also have fire resilient roofs and decks.
I still dream of the day when wildfire protection becomes part of the building code and a requirement for all the new homes going up all across Canada.
Canada does have a board responsible for national building codes. There's nothing in the codes to address wildfire protection right now. Climate change adaptation is a priority in the works, but the new codes won't be ready for another 2 years. In the meantime, there's nothing stopping provinces and territories from creating their own requirements.
This is the first time that we've had this many homes lost to a wildfire, and I really hope it's the last.
Pam Lovelace is the municipal councillor responsible for the Halifax district that lost 150 homes. She's asked staff to look at strategies to mitigate risk.
I think it's important for us to consider that. We don't know what the cost will be. We don't know if the materials are even available.
Kovacs says these measures generally cost between $5,000 and $10,000. After the fires in Lytton, BC 2 years ago, the federal government provided grants to homeowners building fire-resistant homes.
It's all about whether we want to pay a cost up front for all these fires, or do we want to be proactive and get ahead of it.
Fisher says she's considering it. Anything to provide a measure of safety after losing everything. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, 24 Sussex Drive is the Prime Minister's official residence, but no Prime Minister has lived there since 2015, and it looks like no Prime Minister ever will live there again. As Danielle LeBlanc reports, the federal government is exploring other sites to build a brand new official residence, one that would be more modern and, above all, safe.
24 Sussex looks good from afar, but upon close inspection, it doesn't meet modern standards, especially when it comes to the security of the Prime Minister.
First of all, it's fairly easy to scale this particular fence. The distance is rather short for someone that really dashed towards a residence.
Pierre-Yves Bourgeois used to be in charge of security for Canada's official residences. Bourgeois is one of many experts who argue 24 Sussex no longer offers adequate protection against drone attacks, truck bombs, or snipers. The grounds are too narrow for comfort.
The building is sandwiched between the Ottawa River and Sussex Drive. If you consider the current situation with regards to public safety and security threat to our Prime Minister, this location is obviously not appropriate.
Since Stephen Harper left 8 years ago, the home has sat empty. Plagued by faulty electrical systems, mold, and vermin, the residence is being completely gutted. It's unlikely 24 Sussex will ever return to its traditional role.
My understanding of it is there's no way to make that site safe at a reasonable cost.
Radio-Canada has learned Ottawa is actively looking for other properties to build a brand new residence. Potential sites include an idyllic spot down the street called Rockcliffe Park, where this parking lot could accommodate a residence that is big enough and safe. Justin Trudeau and his children currently live at Rideau Cottage, on the grounds of Rideau Hall, a situation many experts deem unworthy.
I think it's embarrassing that a G7 country can't provide a safe, secure residence.
I'm biased towards history.
Even those who want to preserve 24 Sussex believe it's time for Ottawa to make up its mind.
No one wants to spend money on it because no one will make a decision because they don't want to be criticized that they're doing something for themselves.
The Conservative leader doesn't object to a new residence as long as the price is right.
It should just be a very basic, secure place where a Prime Minister can live safely at a reasonable cost to taxpayers.
The government promised to settle the matter of 24 Sussex by the fall, but a new minister was put in charge last month, which could delay a final decision. The hope for many is that the government will find the political courage to put an end to this saga before the next election. Danielle LeBlanc, CBC News, Ottawa.
It was a good day for Canada's men's basketball team in its quest to get back to the Olympic Games next summer.
Edgeham has it, Barrett has it, and Canada leads at the half.
Today they beat Latvia 101-75, leaving the Canadians at the top of their group. The Canadians won all 3 round-robin games, something the men's side hasn't done in World Cup play in nearly 30 years. But the road to the Paris Olympics next summer won't be an easy one, as the Canadians play defending champions Spain next. Well, Ashley, it was a beautiful day today. Got out for that little road trip out to Clarenville. It was a great day to be driving on the highway, and some nice temperatures too.
Yeah, temperatures beautiful today, beautiful tomorrow across a good chunk of the island as well. Let's take a look at what's going on as far as your forecast is concerned. This is when we're going to start to see that rain for the southern portion of the island, and eventually it will track north, I should say, and affect the majority of the island through the afternoon and evening hours. Temperatures will be into the low 20s, about 19 to 23 degrees. A big change up across Labrador, though. 9 degrees in Cartwright. You saw around 26 today, and then down to 9 tomorrow. Nain, you'll hover around 12 degrees with some of that sunshine through the afternoon. Even cooler through Thursday for Labrador. This is also when we're going to see some of that heavier rain, some gusty winds as well. We're looking at wind gusts out of the north in this case, hence those cooler temperatures, 70, maybe even 80 kilometers per hour, along with some of that soaking rain as well. So we're talking about amounts 30, 50, maybe even a little bit more than that as you head towards the coast. And then across the island, we're starting to get into some of that cooler air as well along the west coast of the island, so only into the teens. And then hanging on to that warmer air, muggy air as well, you'll notice, through central and eastern portions of Newfoundland as we head through the day on Thursday. Again, some gusty southerly winds associated with some tropical moisture, hence that humidity. But this is also when we'll see some of that heavier rain for the eastern portion of the island on Thursday. As we head into Friday, things should clear out for a good chunk of the island and up across Labrador as we head through the day. Eventually later on in the afternoon for eastern areas, particularly St. John's, but temperatures much cooler into the teens. You know, first day of September also comes with apparently some of the cooler temperatures as well. This will not last long though. As we take a look at the long range forecast, temperatures start to warm up as we head into Saturday, Sunday, actually looking like a beautiful weekend as far as sunshine is concerned. Heading into the long weekend, at this point, looking like most of the long weekend will be sunny. And then for central Newfoundland, you're looking at a similar warm up, 20 to 23 degrees by the time we get into Sunday. Western Newfoundland, nothing but sunshine Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, warming up to about 21 degrees by the time we get there. For eastern Labrador, some showers will linger Friday and Saturday, but then Sunday looks beautiful. Similar warm up for you. For western Newfoundland, or western Labrador rather, a few showers on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday looking a tad unsettled as we get there. But your daytime highs will be between 19 and 20 degrees. Lots of cirrus clouds out there. This shot was Gulliver Pond, a sunrise there. Daryl shared this shot with me, which is beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for that. If you have any photos, send them to Facebook. The best place is to email them at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is beautiful shot. And so far, a really nice looking forecast for the Labor Day weekend.
That's right.
If it's this weekend.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yes. Well, that's it for us on this Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Good night.